Alright guys, my name is Brian and welcome back to another episode of Firebird Friday. If this is the first time watching one of my videos, I'm restoring a 1967 Pontiac Firebird that my brother who passed away a few years ago left me to restore for the family. And today's episode, we are finally putting together the front suspension on our Firebird. All new bushings, all new shocks, springs, the whole kit and caboodle per se. So how about we get to putting all this back together so we can get this car back down on the ground. So enough of this and some more of this. Let's go. All right guys, so this is our lower control arm. We're on the driver's side because the spot for the sway bar always points forward. And then these two spots, two arms, go into here and over there. So we'll get started getting this thing into place and we'll see where we go from there. And you may have to persuade these things to get up in there. So we got the two bolts in on both sides. This one here, you can see, you can just tighten that bolt up. They go in this way and this way. And this one here is inside. So you're gonna have to take yourself a socket. Have to take a socket, put the nut in there, and kind of wheeze it over there. Then hold it from this other end. And with this, now I'm not going to torque them down just yet, but they are on there. So we got our lower control arm in. Let's do our top. Well guys, unfortunately my camera stopped recording after we got that lower control arm in. So the upper control arm, getting the spring and the shock and all that, we did not record. Luckily, we still have to do the other side, so I'm going to show you that. But that's where we ended up on this side. So I will now show you how to finish off this job on that side over there. All right, so we have that lower control arm installed. Same procedures we did on the other side. Now let's get this top one installed. Notice the bolts are going out this way, so we can put our arm on this. And don't forget your shims. You need to remember where you put those. Ours only had one, weird. Other side had two, one on each side. This one had one on this back side. So that goes down, and then control arm comes on. All right, control arm. Shim is going to go in right there. We'll go ahead and get this kind of squared away. Get your bar angled up to where your bolts go in. Hold that in place. They're in. Give yourself a little room. Drop in that shim wherever yours are supposed to be at. And then we'll just nut these down real quick here. So these bolts here, you can actually torque down to 50 foot-pounds each as of right now, because there's just metal to metal on these. The rest of these, though, you want to make sure you have the engine in the car full weight on the ground before you torque all those up. Show that cross thread in this. Alright, bolted down. We'll torque it up here in a little bit. We got our shim in, so now we can potentially put our spring in. Yeesh, yeesh. With that, it's time for our spring, and this has always been sketchy, but we're gonna compress it from the top, pull it up, get everything situated in there, and get it done. The perch on these inside here, if I remember correctly, are kind of like that. I want to say more like that is how they go in there. These are what I found were factory springs from Firebird Central. As you remember, the ones we took off this car were just gone. They were bent already. So hopefully we won't have to cut these, take it all apart and cut them. We'll see how it looks once we get everything set. If so, we'll come in and we'll do a video on how to cut springs. So with that, let's get a jack and we'll start getting this into place, which is always scary. My problem is that Okay, it's in its spot. Again, I have no weight in the engine here, so see if we can't take that spindle and get it on. And yes, I know I did not clean up my spindles, but I was debating whether or not to do a disc brake conversion. Just wasn't quite sure yet, so I left them alone. I think for now we'll leave them. I have a funny suspicion we'll be back in here sooner than later. So there's one. Get this on. About like that. Those new ball joints. About like that. As you can see, I need to come up a lot more. There we go. Almost. Now I'm jacking the whole car up. There's enough threads. Tighter. Okay, let's let some pressure off of this. Wow, we raised that thing up pretty high, didn't we? That's out. Getting this out. There we go. Fun of spring condensers. got that. Now, got the bugger out. Now, take one of the arms off. Just pull out that one, take that bolt, out, and sweet. Take this, put it back in. So definitely find one with the nuts. It will make your life a hell of a lot easier than the ones with no nuts on them. So this seems better quality. It's heavier, thicker metal, as you can see. It is much thicker metal, but having those is going to pull it out, day and night difference. Okay, now with that done, of course, I've not torqued any of these down just as of yet. I just want to get this in. Let's get our shock in. And that's going to wrap it up for the suspension on the 67 Pontiac Firebird for this episode of Firebird Friday. I think installing shocks is probably one of the easiest things to do, especially on these early cars. You essentially stick this up. It goes to the hole up here. There's two bolts that fit in here that secure it down here. You put the washer on this side, put the second washer on top, bada boom, bada bing. That's a beautiful thing. So let's kind of show you this. Snake it in. Put your finger up there so you can feel it. You can guide it up to where it needs to be. Then you can put that one on. Put your cap on. Put your first nut on. Like that. This one here will be the one that tightens it down. So for now you can just kind of set it up there so you don't lose the darn thing. You'll put that down to lock it in place. then you're going to come underneath and attach your 2 bolts here, and you got it for the most part until all the suspension is and the weight of the car is back, and then you can tighten everything down. So let me get this done real quick. Girl. Guys, we have the front suspension in. Needless to say, these drums are going to need some work. Either replace them, or I still need to make a decision on the disc. I think I'm wait. Let's just wait. I'll go ahead and clean these up. Maybe shoot them with some primer or something, some black heat paint, and or red. No, kidding, not red. I did do the sway barn red just for something. These here will go back to a natural gray color after I sand them down and hit them with something. All right, guys, I think this is going to wrap it up for this episode of Firebird Fridays. We have finished the front suspension on the 67 Firebird. It wasn't a complete pain in the ass, but it was definitely an experience. I rebuilt the suspension of my 67 Porsche, and it was half the time of this car. But then again, I've been doing Porsches for a number of years, and you have less of all of this, and it's just much easier. But at least it's done. It's cheaper to do this. I rebuilt the entire front end on this 67 Firebird. What it would cost to do a half of one side of that Porsche. Let's just say one strut on the 67 Porsche equals what I paid for all the components for this 67 Firebird build. So price difference, less time, more time, you know, it is what it is. So with that, next week I think we'll put the steering back in. I have all new tie rod ends. I have, I'm gonna use the original center link. We have a new idler arm. The Pitman arm I think is good on that one. Put the steering box back in, and I think then at that point we'll have all the front kind of done. Still need to do the brakes. We'll do that very last thing. Need to get the power brake booster and the reservoir up on the firewall, and we're just chucking along on this Firebird. Hopefully by spring, maybe we can drive it around. Body won't be done, but we can at least maybe drive it around in the neighborhood a little bit. So I'm gonna shut up. Cool new headlight thingies for Christmas. Got that from my amazing mother-in-law. Thank you so much, Elsie and Frank. Other than that, guys, I'm out. I'm gonna go wash up. I got more stuff to do, and we'll see you next Friday on another episode of Firebird Fridays. Have a good one. Okay, give me kisses, then go sit down. Go lay down. Okay, you gotta go lay down. Go lay down. Go lay down. on the ground here in a minute. Hot draft. Forward. She's rolling again. Cool. Cool, cool, cool.